Hi, Carlin here. We've talked a bit on this pod about how the institution of marriage is shifting, declining marriage rates, and younger generations that are both exhausted by romance culture and still deeply craving connection. Meanwhile, in that cultural swirl, a very old concept has quietly resurfaced: the lavender marriage. Historically, it described two people, often queer, marrying for social acceptance or protection. But now it's reappearing in headlines and TikTok videos as something more nuanced, more intentional, and maybe more reflective of where relationships are headed. So today we're asking, why now? Is this a pragmatic response to capitalism, housing prices, immigration, childcare, social pressure? Is it a backlash to hyper romantic expectations? Or a reframing of partnership as collaboration, co parenting, or community? And if lavender marriages are returning, what does that say about love, identity, safety, autonomy, and the stories we've been told about how life should look? We're not here to judge, just to get super curious. Again, I'm Carlin.
And I'm Elaine.
Welcome back to our podcast, Related. All right, so Elaine.
Yes.
I feel like I always start off these pods by being like, Elaine.
I know. Well, it's like I want to pose a question to you.
I want to pose a question. So yes, I want to pose a question. I'm so curious. You know what? I had one more specific nuanced question that I wanted to ask to sort of kick things off here. But I'm curious your perspective, and I'm going to ask a broader question. Just why do you Elaine, think lavender marriages are making a comeback?
So I had not heard they
You were
were.
I didn't know they were back.
I didn't know they were back. And honestly, I had when you first proposed this topic, I was like, do we want to be the ones talking about this? Like, we're both straight. This doesn't seem to be our wheelhouse. So I didn't even know that they were coming back and that they had adopted this new meaning.
Yep.
Honestly, my first reaction was, yeah, that makes sense. I think people are being a lot, maybe not being, but talking about marriages in a like more pragmatic way. And it could be because we're nearing our 40s.
Yeah.
And I wonder if talking about marriage in a romantic way was something that we did in our 20s.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I think what's really interesting is that marriage historically, right? Like early foundations of marriage it was a business deal, a business
Right.
contract, right? A very
And
patriarchal.
not even
Yeah,
between the couple's families, really.
totally.
The couple's
Totally.
fathers.
Yes, yes. And in a very obviously patriarchal society.
Yes.
And what's interesting is that it feels like there was this period of time, at least when we were growing up, and you just mentioned our 20s, but I actually think it's more just a story that maybe, at least in America, we've told ourselves, right? Which is that marriage is meant to be a romantic thing.
Mm.
And the lavender marriage to me seems like almost a return to more of the business contract in some ways. It feels like it's decoupling romance and love versus like financial stability, companionship, which I know companionship isn't inherently like a business deal, but it's interesting to sort of decouple um, the love and the romance of it as sort of the underlying drive to get married to someone versus the desire for legal protection or better rates on your taxes or being able to buy for two, which is in the long term like cheaper per person than it is
Right.
to buy for one, like go grocery shopping and things like that. So it's
So
interesting. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, so when you're talking, it makes me think 2 things. One, yes, it's a return in some ways, but instead of centering family, it really is centering the couple. Like, this is the couple's choice to be pragmatic.
Yep.
And 2, I think a
Wait,
lot of
when
what
you
you're
say sorry, when you say centering the family, what do you mean by that?
like, this is not a decision between families that a couple should get together.
Oh,
This
right,
is
right.
like
It's
the
not the parents. Right,
couple.
right.
Right, right.
Yeah.
This is like the couple being pragmatic.
Yeah.
And 2, I think when you are listing out kind of the things that would make a lavender marriage seem appealing, I think you're kind of making this distinction between like want and need,
Yep.
whereas the romantic and the love is like the want, but
Yep.
like the need is like financial security or stability or
Um,
family. It's like we were enticed into marriage by this want
Yep.
of this romantic thing,
Yeah.
but what has really manifested is the need.
That just sparked something for me. I think it's what is your primary driver for marriage? Because I'm not sure that people are decoupling those things entirely from their lives, but someone saying, I would rather use marriage as a like more stable foundation that like takes romance out of it. And then if I need romance, I find it elsewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Do
While
you think that there's some kind of connection to like open marriages with this lavender marriage idea?
I don't think it's maybe I think there is a connection with open marriages and polyamory for sure. Although I'm like, is it polyamory if you're married to someone who you are not physically like intimate with or romantically involved with, right? Because it is interesting to flip it, right? It's like we might have, I think today the general basis or foundation we have is you marry the person that you are romantically in love with, you are physically like intimate with, and then you're also like building this sort of financial stability, legal
Right.
protection with them. I think what a lavender marriage in this sort of modern reinvented time is saying, no, 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 like let's take romance out of it. Let's focus just on friendship, companionship, and then all the financial legal protection. Let's make sure we
Mhm.
get that. And then if we want romance and love, we find it outside of the marriage.
Right.
So it's kind of flipping the script in some ways. It's like marry your best friend. There's no
Yeah.
romance, but you get all the like I don't know. It's like tricking the system in some ways. And then I guess where it's maybe not the same as open marriage or polyamory, at least the way that I've seen it play out in my community is like open marriage or polyamory. Typically there is like a primary partner, right? Which is typically someone that there is romance and physical intimacy with. It's just expanding that physical intimacy and love to multiple partners versus just one. While as like
And
I think
love?
and love in some cases too.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Like I have a couple without like revealing other people's secrets and backgrounds. Like I have a couple of friends who are in open marriages and in one scenario I can think of them where they are actively loving multiple people. And then I've known of folks who are in sort of like more polyamorous relationships where it's truly the openness or the poly comes more down to just like physical intimacy versus actual emotional connection and love. So
Yeah.
I think it's dependent. I won't pretend like I am super familiar with the poly language. There's actually terminology for the different kinds of relationships, like whether it's love based or just like physical based as well. So
Yeah.
I think what's interesting about it though and where the draw is to me a parallel is just this like reimagining of what like longer term partnership looks like. But where I think there's a distinction with lavender marriage is that it's like intentionally not romantic.
Yeah. So, I don't know if there's a point to this, but it strikes me that the way you are talking about lavender marriage is very similar to the way that I've heard marriage like an older marriage being described
Yeah.
as.
Yeah.
Like, especially when one person may want to leave a marriage.
Mm-hmm.
There's no romantic feelings there. The marriage is over,
Yeah.
but I'm still in it because all these practical things and he's a good partner
Yep.
or
Yep. Yep. And,
so
and what I think is interesting about the lavender marriage, to be honest, is that it, for the most part, at least from what I've read, it kind of takes heterosexual men a little bit out of the equation. Like the most of the examples that I am reading are like either self-identified queer people,
Mhm.
maybe a gay
So
man,
how
and
how traditional lavender marriage would have been.
yes, yes, maybe but like again, not traditional because everybody's out. So
Right.
no one's actually like
Right.
hiding anything. I saw a couple of anecdotes around straight women who've gotten married to like live with their best friend and sort of partner in that sense, but it's purely platonic, but they want the legal benefits of and like financial stability and frankly it's just like companionship of partnership. But I
Mhm.
haven't seen examples of either like straight men getting married or like a straight man and a straight woman getting married either.
Yeah. Honestly, my first thought
Yeah.
is this is that because this is so bad, but I'm just gonna say it. This
Yeah.
was my first thought. Is that because lavender marriages are in some way a meeting of equals, and that is not necessarily what straight men are looking for?
Well, I think whether or not I think maybe it's less of that and maybe more on the flip side of that is that maybe women are looking for an alternative, like specifically straight women are also looking for an alternative where they are more equals. So maybe it's less that like men aren't seeking it out because they're looking for a non-equal partnership, but on the flip side of it, it's maybe women are actually seeking out options and
Right, right.
solutions where they get like the benefits of
Right. No, no,
marriage.
no, no.
But
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
saying that it's like men already get the benefits of marriage
Yes, yes, yes.
in a straight marriage,
Yes,
a
which we've
traditional
seen
marriage.
science and studies show us repeatedly, like you and I were just talking about Professor Galloway Instagram, and I know you're not a huge fan of him, but I do think he put it pretty succinctly well, is that men get more out of marriage than women do.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is such a hypothetical. Like, would you ever enter a lavender marriage?
For sure. 100%.
And like what scenario? Like I'm so curious. Like what would that
Honestly,
look like for you?
I can't see myself doing that while mom and dad, you guys
Yeah.
are alive and
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
But like
Even though we can't offer you the protections of marriage.
so it's like the protections of marriage that first come to mind are like tax benefits, kids,
Yeah, like next of kin.
like next of kin
Yeah.
stuff. And it's like mom and dad already have like if I went into a coma tomorrow,
Yep.
mom and dad would be able to make decisions for me that
Yeah.
and I respect
Yeah.
their choices. Taxes, I don't really
Yeah.
need
It's
those
not like a
benefits
huge
at this
yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at kids right now.
Yeah.
But who knows, 20 years down the line, I'm going to be 50 in my 50s, probably starting to age,
Yeah.
and mom and dad may not be able
No,
to
don't
make
say
decisions for
that.
me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to say that, but
Yeah.
it's like, you know, and could I see marrying someone who I could see that I trust to make decisions in my stead? Absolutely,
Yeah.
100%.
That's so interesting. I hadn't really thought about that angle. And what about more of the companionship component of it? Like who would you enter a lavender marriage with? Would it need to be a really close friend? Like where would you even
I think so. I'll just reiterate what I said. I think there has to be a layer of trust. It's
Yeah.
like, is this someone who, if I am no longer in capacity
Yeah.
to do the things that I want to do, can I trust them to do them in my stead?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's a huge amount of trust. And I'm not sure I have someone in my life like that besides you, Stray, mom, dad at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
But if someone were to enter my life who I did not have a romantic relationship, but I did have that level of trust in them,
Yeah.
I could totally see myself entering into a marriage
Yeah.
with them.
Re
That being
regardless
said,
regardless of gender, etcetera.
regardless of
Yeah.
gender,
Yeah.
regardless of sexuality, that being said, I think it's a reciprocal trust
Yes.
too. And in that reciprocal trust, I think there's also a burden that you take.
Yeah.
Like, you are acknowledging that you will be making these decisions for that person if they have the same problems,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I think it's a very heavy thing, but yes, 100% I would do it.
Hmm.
I think the world is too unsure to do it alone 100%.
Yeah.
To do alone all the time.
Yeah. I think what it's bringing up for me is I also am very open to a lavender marriage. I think for me it would be it's would I be in it more for the like companionship,
Mhm.
or would it be more for the legal and financial benefits?
But I do think those go in hand. Like, I'm talking a lot about what I would get out of it, but
Yeah.
I think that's based on a trust that comes from companionship,
Yeah.
right? Like, trust
Yeah.
doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It's like,
No, totally. I guess where I'm saying that is, and I mean this more and even maybe a very specific physical space, not like physical intimacy, but would I want to buy a house with someone and live with them,
mhm.
right? Like there are parts of me that struggle to even imagine myself moving in with a boyfriend, right? Like I love my own space. What it's sparking for me is, do I want and do I need that? I think there's a part of me that would really love those financial and legal benefits. Do I feel like I need the same level of like proximity, like physical proximity, as typically a marriage might provide? I don't know.
But, like, who says you have to buy into that? Like, who
No,
says,
I
like,
know. I
a
know.
marriage at all has to buy into proximity or sharing a home? We've just assumed that, like, if you're gonna get married, you're gonna live together and be close to each other. But, like, why?
Yeah, well, and I guess that's the whole reason I wanted to talk about this topic, is I think that this return of the lavender marriage is essentially challenging those norms. But just when I ask myself that question of myself, I'm like, do I want to be legally bound to anyone? And is there a
Mhm.
way to protect myself, like in terms of next of kin and whatnot? Like, is that just something that I can have as part of a will or like power of attorney with a very close friend versus actually entering into an actual contractual marriage with them?
Yeah. Well, I do think that there are ways to protect yourself that are not marriage legally. But what I would say about marriage is that it is a contract that has been tested. If you are going to enter into your own legal contracts around power of attorney and things like that, you're really building from the ground up.
Right.
And that requires resources to hire a
Right.
lawyer, and then you have to come up with what the terms are and what all that
Right.
stuff.
Right.
But a marriage is really a predetermined contract.
I love this.
Not only but
Speaking to a lawyer,
this
Lawyer Elaine reporting for duty.
this is not my area of law, but this is how my mind works. It's like
Yeah.
a marriage is a contract between you, another person, and the state in a way. And so that there's already predefined terms there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, theoretically, you're imagining, your 50s, 60s in a horrible world where dad, Strand, and I are no longer here, which, well, it's hopefully that's not
I'm
wholeheartedly the
going
case.
first, so.
Yeah. That makes me sad too. So no, we're just that world. There's just a world where whatever. Yeah. Okay. But you would, a trusted friend, you would marry that person, man, woman, they, he, she, them, however they identify. And you wouldn't necessarily live with that person, see that person every day. It would just be a buy in into like pre existing legal and financial protection.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so interesting. It's kind of but it's kind of amazing actually too, right?
Yeah.
It's 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 like a world where so many people could be married and in some ways becomes it makes marriage as we know it kind of meaningless,
Yeah. Well,
but
so
but it also like it's like deeply empowering.
yeah, it's deeply
Yeah.
empowering on an individual level. I think being a non-religious person, people who believe that marriage is uh
Right.
a religious, what's the word? Not vehicle, but it's like a
Oh, it's
religious.
deeply spiritual between like
Right. Right.
typically a man and a woman, a
I think
union. Yeah.
Yes, I think that they would be deeply offended by what I'm saying. And I think that you need to separate out a religious marriage or the
Yeah.
religious aspect of a marriage, which
Yeah.
is a different part from
Yeah.
what the state recognizes as a marriage.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Okay, this is bringing up another like hypothetical question that I'm so curious, especially because of your very, very interesting answer just now. If we took away all the, and I don't know, maybe this is hard to say because even the word marriage in and of itself is so seeped in history and context and bias. But let's say, like, if marriage as a term didn't exist, but I'm going to use it and you're just going to know what I mean by saying the word marriage. But, like,
Yeah.
what would marriage look like, do you think, if everyone felt safe to design it in the way that they wanted it to be or design their own version of it?
What do you mean? What would it look like? I'm not quite getting your question, I think.
Yeah, I think what I'm getting at is I think there are still people who probably buy into and or like feel into our pre-existing general context of marriage because they feel like that's what's best for them and also what like most people do. And I think increasingly as we were talking about with open marriages and obviously with the return of lavender marriages, there are people who are like rethinking what marriage and partnership looks like for them. And so I guess, I don't know, maybe it's not as important a question, but I think it just brought up for me this notion of even just what you're saying, right? Like that's a concept or a version of marriage that I had not ever thought of, which is like you're just in a contract. You don't really like talk or live or travel or shop with this person. You literally just are like for the
Married to them.
married to them. You're just married to them. And it's like truly it's really just built on truly just the legal and the financial aspect of it. There's no like companionship, like intimacy component of it, whether platonic or otherwise. And I think people like, I don't think the lavender marriage is that, right? Like, the lavender marriage is the financial and legal stability, which you outlined, plus the companionship
Right.
piece, too, right?
Right.
And then there are like open marriages, which are so I guess what I'm getting at is there's both the like the human connection piece and then like
Yeah.
the legal, et cetera piece. And I think we all are
Yeah.
craving both. And
Yeah.
people are figuring out different configurations. That was a weird way to say configurations,
Yeah.
configurations of those.
I think you're trying to define what a marriage is. And I feel like there's just such a broad spectrum of what a marriage could be. Like
Right.
even the term marriage, like it keep every time we say it, I keep thinking about like Obergefell and the
A
fact
what?
that so
I'm like a what?
so before gay marriage became legal in 2016, there was this whole discussion about offering homosexual couples domestic partnership
Right.
instead of marriage,
Yeah.
and which was basically all the legal protections of marriage without the word
Marriage.
marriage.
Yeah.
But that seemed like so wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um, but it's hard to place your finger on like why that's wrong, right? Because it's like the word marriage.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like you're asking that same question of like what is marriage? And I think like I'm just it's just like so ephemeral.
No, it
Like
is. I
we
mean, I
we know what it is,
yeah.
but like
Well, no,
how
and
do
I
you
think that
define it?
I think that's why I was like, how do I ask this question without saying the word marriage, right? I think people are increasingly, women especially, I think are increasingly feeling like, okay, maybe marriage as is not working for me. Marriage as like traditionally defined. And there are many people, women, others who maybe don't fit into sort of like the typical straight heterosexual norm. But I think probably maybe also men at some point. I don't know. Well, who knows? Are asking the question of how do I get the benefits like of marriage, traditional marriage
Yeah.
in quotations, without either like losing myself or undermining myself. Like, how do I get connection, like true connection? How do I get like potentially equal partnership? How do I get the financial legal components? And what does it look like to figure out a different way to build that for myself, both outside of existing systems and also within them?
Yeah. And can I introduce another
Yeah,
interesting dilemma is that the fact that there are benefits tied to marriage is a symptom of the fact that our society values people being paired up and does not value single people.
totally.
Um,
I mean, our whole society, again, like grocery shopping, designed for family and shopping for more than one, for sure.
right.
Yeah.
Rent,
Rent.
where two people occupy the same space. Yes.
Yep.
The world is not meant for single people. So
Yep.
this is another part of the equation is that it's just not easy being
Yeah.
single.
And I would say, which is a really good point, like I am in a financial position right now where I do not need to worry about my rent or grocery shopping or whatnot. But honestly, there is a world where a lavender marriage would actually make me maybe be a lot more compelling to me, or some sort of partnership, companionship, financial, legal benefits would be a lot more beneficial to me if I could split that with someone if I wasn't in the situation that I'm in. So it's a good point. A more final question, but I'm curious if you have any additional thoughts beyond that, is just like more broadly, why do you think the lavender marriage has returned? I think we've kind of gotten at it. But if you had to, and maybe it never really fully went away, but
Yeah, I think it might have a resurgence just because when you're being tossed around in a world and someone offers a branch,
yeah, yeah.
sometimes you just take it.
Sometimes you just take it. You take it. It is, yeah. Sometimes you just take it. Um, I think people are also just getting like a lot more creative within our existing systems. And instead of trying to maybe build entirely new systems, they're trying to work with what we have and reinvent them, which I think is
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any like final thoughts or any just notes or thoughts or questions or musings that any of this brought up for you, or even just thinking about this in preparation for our recording that this brought up for you?
So would you ever join a lavender marriage?
I'm not against it. I I think I'm more hesitant to than you.
I think that's because you perhaps have attached more meaning to the word marriage. And I don't think that's wrong. I don't think
Mm,
that's wrong at all,
yeah.
but I see it as a contract.
Yeah. I think it's more I don't know. I think yeah, no, I agree. I think there's or maybe we have a different maybe it's not that I've attached more meaning, it's more a different meaning. I think for me it's like if I'm going to enter that contract with a person, I think there's a part of me that's like I might as well just like build those contracts for myself or
Yes, but you have the resources to do
no, no,
that. I
totally. That's
think
what I say.
yeah,
But you
yeah.
were asking me, Carlin, if I would enter a
Yes,
lavender
yes,
marriage,
yes,
right?
yes.
So, but if I didn't have those resources, honestly, yeah. Yeah. But I will also say there are so few people in the world that I have that level of trust with. I
Yeah,
think similar to you, it's, you, Strand, mom and dad. I think I have like maybe and then there are maybe like I don't know, there are very few people like you really to me, it would really have to be like family level long-term trust.
yeah,
And it's really taking a leap of faith in someone, like legally binding work. I'm working with my business partner on our operating agreement right now, and it's a leap of faith to be legally
yeah,
engaged and
yeah,
have those
yeah,
conversations with someone, right? So it's like it's
yeah,
also yes, I would enter it, but it's like hard for me to imagine right now who that person would be. Other than
yeah.
like, yeah.
I do talk about it like it's a contract because it is, but there and I said this before, but I'm reiterating it. There has to be a level of trust there. Like
Yeah.
you are handing over rights to your person, to yourself, to your soul
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah. Yeah.
that is really hard to untangle.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what's really fascinating to me about that is will I be able to build that level of someone who's not purely family or someone who I'm like in love with, you know? I
Yeah.
can think of I have a handful of very, very close friends. Not all of them, like most of them I wouldn't want to sign a like long-term life contract
Right.
with, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Again, taking like the traditional term of marriage out of it, it it's a big deal to
Yeah.
intermingle your life and
Yes,
choice that
absolutely.
way. And so, yeah, it would
I
take kind of the
feel
same way that I think about marriage, just like from a heterosexual romantic way right now,
yeah.
as I would with a contract. I'm like, it would take a very special person for me to do
Yeah.
that.
So it might be my lawyer brain, but for me, boiling it down to a contract
Yeah,
actually emphasizes how important it is.
totally. To- totally. 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 And I guess theoretically one can always get divorced.
Yes, but there's like it can be very difficult, and the
Yeah.
longer you've been married, the
Yeah.
more difficult it becomes, and the
Totally.
less and like said, how marriage is kind of a template. There's less of a template for divorce.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. Lots to think about. Lots to think about. But yeah, I the lavender marriage.
The
It's
lavender
back,
marriage.
Elaine. You didn't know it, but it
It's
is
back.
it is
It's not
back.
only back, but I would do
But
it.
she would do it. And I'm a maybe. I'm a yes, I would do it if I needed to.
Yes, I would do it according to the circumstances.
Yeah. 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 And I would also say, just the last thing I'll say is I also see a world where, I'm 60 and like heteronormative relationships have failed me or whatnot. And I'm like, you know what? I am living my single life and I'm going to move into a lovely house with like a best girlfriend or two best girlfriends or a weird little commune with little bungalows all in a circle. Like, I am I am so open to those like non-traditional, but
Yes.
I think
Give me a
increasingly common ways of building like companionship and support beyond the legal and financial systems. Like that is something I actually think about a lot more so than like the financial and legal side.
Yeah, give me a non-cult commune any day.
Totally. I mean, I have a friend, she and her husband and their daughter like recently sold their house and bought a duplex so that their best friend could live like in the flat above them. And like just in terms of childcare and friendship and community building, like it's been, I mean, that's such a small example in the grand scheme of things, but I also have another friend from business school who's moving into a house. She and her husband and their kids are moving into a house with 5 other couples and their kids. People are increasingly looking for alternative solutions. Like we didn't even tap into support and childcare, and the typical like family marriage norm right now I think is failing a lot of people, and so people are looking for different solutions. And I think the lavender marriage is one version of that, but there are many others.
And it's interesting. Like, I feel like there's been non-traditional partnerships and communities and everything for as long as there've been people. So in some ways it's new, and in some ways it's just the same pattern repeating itself. I
Yeah,
mean, this is how lavender marriages came to
totally.
be in the first
Well,
place.
and I just wonder if like maybe this time around what's happening is that it's becoming a little bit more part of the cultural zeitgeist and a little bit more mainstream.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right then. Thanks for chatting, Elaine. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed our conversation this week, we look forward to sharing more with you.
Follow us now so that when our next episode premieres in 2 weeks, you can be sure not to miss it. You can find us wherever you listen to your podcasts.
See you next time, everyone.